Don't you just love track and field? It's one of the few sports in which being one of the best in the world does not guarantee you a spot at the World Championships. It may land you on a flight back home. It may land you on a flight to Tokyo. It may even land you on a flight to Dubai for some reason. But if you are trying to win gold at the World Championships in Tokyo, you will have to overcome your biggest rival. And in the case of some that we will discuss today, that rival might have dominated you for years and you've barely even picked up a single win against them. But the value of that one win changes the landscape for what we are about to see at these World Championships. My name's Luke Okosieme. You're watching Oko TV. Let's get straight into it. Don't act like you saw this one coming. Please do not act like you saw this one coming. Salwa Naser, in her 13 races against Marileidy Paulino, had lost 12 times. 12 times! 1 out of 13 races had she won. That's Ruben Amorim form right there. And then in the Diamond League final, she runs a 48.70 to win. Ridiculously fast time to beat Marileidy Paulino, who ran 49.23. And if you were watching this race in real time, it looked like we were going to see more of the same, more of what we've seen so many times, most recently at the Celestia Diamond League, in which Salwa Naser comes out like a bullet and is leading significantly on the home straight, and then Marileidy Paulino starts reeling her in. And that's exactly what happened. That's what we saw happen. But this time, Naser had the strength, held on, and Paulino was like, nah, I'm not getting to her. Salwa kept up the speed and ran a crazy time in a massive victory, physically, mentally, everything, ahead of these World Championships in Tokyo. Because in my previous video about the women's 400 meters, I said, look, Naser, we've seen before, most notably at the 2019 World Championships final, but we've seen on multiple occasions, the speed at which she comes out the gates with, she can maintain to an extent the entire way around. And if she does that, it's almost impossible to stop her. Because Paulino had the exact same race strategy that she had in Celestia, and in so many times in which she's been able to reel Naser in. The time that she ran, 49.23, is very close to the 49.17, I believe, that she ran in Celestia when she made up a gap from 8th place to 1st place to win that race. And if she was closer to Naser, she would have run even faster than that. She could have run that 49.17 again. So there was no difference in Paulino's performance. The only difference was in that Naser was able to hold on towards the end. And she's clearly learned that that is the mindset, that is the structure, that is the approach that she should take to the World Championships if she's trying to beat Paulino and Sydney. Because in the previous Diamond League, we saw her try to take more measured of an approach. I know it was in the rain, it was crazy, but it did not end up well. She finished middle of the pack. She did not run fast, even relative to everyone else in the rain. If she tries to stagger her approach, go a bit more conservative, she can't play Paulino at her own game. She can't do that. She has to stick to her own race strategy and what's been working and just trust that come the final straight, she's going to be ready to just hold on. If she can get herself a big enough lead, that's what she's going to need against Sydney and against Paulino. And if she does that, someone else is going to have to run something historically fast. I'm talking all time, maybe top 5 ever fast to beat her in Tokyo. Now, I believe Paulino on paper is still the favorite in Tokyo. We've seen her do it when it matters most. We've seen the strength that she has towards the end of races, and we've seen her flat speed even in the 200 that she ran last week in the Diamond League. But as she's acknowledged previously in an interview, that first 200 is what has to be stronger for her to run the 47 that she herself is going after and that she might need to run to win in Tokyo. But it's just about balance. Does she go out a bit faster in the first 200 and compromise her finish? Or does she just run how she's been running the entire season and just trust that wherever Naser and Sydney are, she will be able to reel them in? Speaking of Sydney, I can't lie. The fact that she's been ghosting since US's kinda makes me think, you know what, she's loading up something special, because this is what she always does. This has just been her strategy this entire 2020s decade. She pops out a mad time at US trials, hibernates, and then pops out an even madder time at the World Champs or the Olympics. Seems like she's trying to do that again. So we really should expect Sydney to run even faster than even Naser just ran at the Diamond League final. We should expect Sydney to run faster than that in Tokyo. She's a wild card in this situation because we don't see her run fours that often and rarely ever, no, never in a competitive setting like the World Championships. So if she's going to drop faster than, say, a 48-7, Naser has to execute that game plan that she just had perfectly in Tokyo, and Paulino has to run a faster 200 or a faster 250, 300 to get into the final straight and still be able to reel in Naser and McLaughlin Levroni wherever they are on the final straight. For me personally, this might even be the race of the champs. When it comes to competitiveness, 3 people running at an all-time level, really other than maybe the women's 100-meter hurdles, this might be the most exciting race of the champs. Unknown quantity, no one knows who's going to win, but we know that you're going to have to run ridiculously fast to win. So I'm asking you now, who do you think will come away with the title? I will do predictions very soon, so make sure to subscribe to Oko TV so that you catch those predictions ahead of these world champs. But who do you think will become the 400-meter world champion? Let me know in the comments. I've never seen anything like this before. Opinion is split amongst Jamaicans as regards Julien Alfred's decision to run at the Diamond League final in Zurich in the 100 meters. This is because of a unique quirk in this year's World Championships schedule, let's say. Typically, there are 2 athletes that get a bye straight to the World Championships that don't have to qualify through their own individual national organizations. The reigning world champion from the previous World Championships, that in this case occurred in 2023, and the Diamond League champion, which all the time typically is the Diamond League champion from the previous year. So normally, the 2024 Diamond League champion would get a bye to the 2025 World Championships. But in this case, we have a peculiar situation in which the Diamond League final is taking place prior to the World Championships, and therefore the 2025 Diamond League champion is the one that gets the bye to the 2025 World Championships. That being the case, athletes that did not qualify for the World Championships through their national trials or their national organization, however each respective country does it, those athletes would typically not have a chance to be at the World Championships of that year. But this year is different, and the Jamaicans felt as though Tia Clayton had a chance to make it to the World Championships despite not qualifying through the Jamaica trials. She had an injury, she was struggling with injury, but after a strong showing at the Celestia Diamond League in which she finished second in a 10-8 behind Melissa Jefferson Wooden, she established herself as one of the favorites to win the Diamond League final and therefore qualify for Tokyo through the wild card. Given that we knew Melissa Jefferson Wooden was not going to run the Diamond League final, this left the field wide open, particularly as earlier in the year, Julien Alfred had indicated that she was not going to run any more Diamond League meets. She pulled out of the 2 that she was signed up to run. It was reported there was injury. She came out and said it wasn't injury, but either way, she wasn't going to run those. And we didn't know whether or not she was going to run in the Diamond League final. So when the news broke earlier this week that Julien Alfred would be taking place at the Diamond League final, Julien Alfred, the reigning 100-meter Olympic champion, the second fastest woman in the world this year behind Melissa Jefferson Wooden, she would be running at this Diamond League final. She didn't need to. She's qualified for world champs. She's the only runner from St. Lucia, but she announced that she would be running. And that made some Jamaicans quite upset. They were just like, come on, man. Just allow Tia Clayton, man. Please just let her get this chance to get to the World Championships, because they know if she gets to the World Championships on times, she's one of the fastest in the world. And if you're one of the fastest women in the world on times, you could get a medal. And some Jamaicans felt as though Julien Alfred should have just not competed because she didn't need to, and just allow Tia Clayton to have a chance at making it to the World Champs. Some, on the other hand, felt like, you know what, it's fair play. How can you tell someone not to compete? If they're trying to compete, and there's money on the line, there's like 50K on the line. This is a Diamond League final we're talking about. Julien Alfred is the reigning Diamond League champion. She has every right to come and defend her title. So we get to the start line, and Tia Clayton, it doesn't matter who's there, okay? She has to focus on running her own race and running fast enough to qualify for that final. And she ran very, very fast. She ran 10.84, was clearly ahead of the rest of the field, but it was not enough because we're talking about Julien Alfred here. We're talking about the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion here. She ran a 10.76, beating Tia Clayton, beating the rest of the field, and retaining her Diamond League title, ending Tia Clayton's hopes to go to the World Championships in Tokyo. But she tried, okay? Tia Clayton, you tried. Should be proud. It's kind of peak, but that's the game. That's life. It's tough when you're in a really fast country. It's tough. I personally don't assign any blame to Julien Alfred. She did her thing. Even if it was strategic and she was trying to eliminate the competition, that's a smart move. Now, even if you think, Julien Alfred doesn't have to worry, Julien Alfred and Melissa Jefferson Wooden are the two athletes that don't need to worry about Tia Clayton, because realistically, them on their best day, Tia Clayton nor anyone else is touching them this year. Championships is more than just the final race. You have to get to the final race. And if you can get rid of an athlete like Tia Clayton to be facing in the heats or the semis, that makes your heats or semis easier. That's blessed. So if it was a strategic move, it makes sense. If it was just a move for herself to get ready for Tokyo, which is more likely, it also makes sense because she hasn't run in a while. And everyone's been raving about Melissa Jefferson Wood, and she's coming back and she's like, you know what? I'm going to show you, man, what I'm actually about, innit? I'm going to just remind you, man, that I'm here. I don't mind being the underdog, because sometimes that's good to go under the radar, even as an Olympic champion. But she got that race under her belt, another 10-7, eliminated the competition in the process, and made it a clear two-horse race, in my opinion, for the women's 100-meter final in Tokyo. So as a result, I have two questions for you guys. Number one, what do you think of Julien Alfred's decision to... Actually, let's go three questions. What do you think of Julien Alfred's decision to run at this Diamond League final, number one? Number two, do you feel as though the qualification system is fair, in that you can be one of the fastest women in the world, but just because there are other really fast women in the world in your country, you don't get to go, and slower athletes, which is the majority of everyone else, do get to go? Do you think that's fair? Because we're seeing this not only in Jamaica, but we're seeing this a lot amongst the Americans across multiple events. But then at the same time, at the World Championships, do you want that to be monopolized or duopolized or oligopolized? By just a few countries, or do you need to limit it to 3 athletes per country so that it can be a true World Championships? And then question number 3, do you think Julien Alfred can get it done against Melissa Jefferson Wooden? Because Melissa Jefferson Wooden, by what I'm hearing by everyone, is the favorites for this World Champs. I actually think on paper she's the favorite. She's not my pick. Julien Alfred's my pick. She's been my pick for a while, and I'm not changing that. And I genuinely believe in the 100-meter final, Julien Alfred can get it done. I've seen her do it last year, 10-7-2 in the rain in the Olympic final. I believe she can hold off Melissa Jefferson Wooden in the 100-meter final in Tokyo. I'm aware it's a minority opinion, maybe an unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion. So why don't you share yours below in the comments? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think she can get it done? Or do you think this historic season that we're seeing Melissa Jefferson Wooden have means that no one can touch her? Because if Melissa Jefferson Wooden does crown this off with a World Championship gold in the times that she seems to be running, we have to put her in conversations. Conversations that may involve some of your favorite all-time 100-meter women sprinters, because this will go down, if she crowns it off with a World Championship gold, as one of the greatest sprinting seasons of all time. But that gold is what determines whether it goes in that conversation or not. So do you think she's going to get it done? Let me know in the comments. At the USA Track and Field World Championship trials, there were 3 spots up for grabs in the women's 200 meters to book a ticket to Tokyo. And Melissa Jefferson Wooden and the Navy Battle booked those first 2 respectively, leaving a war behind them for 3rd place, in which Gabby Thomas, Brittany Brown, and Mackenzie Long finished with the same time. All 3 of them ran a 22:20, but only one of them would get that 3rd spot to go to Tokyo. And it just so happened to be the reigning Olympic champion, Gabby Thomas, who got that place once they went down to the thousandths of a second, meaning that Brittany Brown no longer had a spot on the Tokyo team. But the Diamond League final, through which you can get a wild card for the World Championships, was taking place before the World Championships this year. A unique situation. And that was Brittany Brown's only hope of making it to the World Championships to contend. She had to win in the Diamond League final to book her ticket to Tokyo. Now you know this, and I know this. But the interviewer at the previous Diamond League in Lausanne did not know this.
And what about the Worlds in Tokyo? You know, I mean,
I didn't make the World team.
You didn't. Sorry about that. Okay, so basically the finals, and that's going to be the last.
Well, if I get Dubai, yeah.
Dubai. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Dubai, bro. Listen, Dubai, Lausanne, Zurich. It don't matter. Brittany in lane 5 because watch what happened now when she turned up at the Diamond League final in Zurich with a place to the World Championships on the line. She was having a battle, not with Anavia, but with Dina Asher-Smith. They were neck and neck, and it looked like Dina was gonna take it. It was a very strong showing from her. She just ran the 100 meters before, and they were battling, but you could see on Brittany Brown's face what it meant to her to make it to those World Championships in Tokyo. And she emerged victorious. She is now going to Tokyo, to the World Championships. So maybe that reporter that was asking her those nonsense questions, maybe he was actually onto something and he knew something that we didn't. But either way, we'll see. We'll see how this manifests itself in Tokyo. We'll see whether Brittany Brown, with that momentum that she's had in previous Diamond League races, in this Diamond League race, will carry her to be in contention for a medal, because it's a tough field. It's a tough field in the 200. You got Melissa, you got Julien, you got Sharika, you got others. It's tough. But Brittany Brown is showing form. So do you think she'll be able to gain a medal at the World Championships in Tokyo in the 200 meters? Let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about the battle of the double barrel Smiths, because Dina Asher-Smith and Marie-Josée Smith both attempted something very rare, which was the Diamond League double. And their attempts were very commendable, I must say. Talu got off to a bit of a shaky start because she had a supposed full start in the 100 meters. But she decided to run under protest. And from what I can see, and I've tried so hard to research this, so I believe this information is correct, the appeal or the protest was successful. As when I've checked on Diamond League website, World Athletics website, there was no evidence of a disqualification. They deemed her run as legal. So she ran a 10.92 and finished third in the Diamond League final, ahead of Dina Asher-Smith, who ran a 10.94. So Dina Asher-Smith and Talu Smith had a mere 90 minutes between the end of the 100 meter final and the beginning of the 200 meter final. So they barely had time. By the time they get back to their belongings after 100 meters, they have to start prepping for the 200 meters. And despite this, both put a strong showing in the two. Talu Smith running an SB 22.25 in third place, and Dina running 22.18 in second place. Two strong showings across two events from two athletes in less than 2 hours. And I think they both look in good shape ahead of Worlds. My focus now is less on the time and more about the competitive edge of these athletes, because yes, there are some names missing from these Diamond League finals, but this caliber of field is the closest that you're going to get outside of the World Championships to a World Championships at this stage of the season. So both athletes being competitive in such a short space of time, which is even different from what you're going to have in the World Championships, because in the World Championships, if you're running a semi, ideally you'd be able to chill at the end of the semi if you're that far ahead. So you wouldn't even be running full out the way that they were in this final. And you wouldn't have to follow it with a 200. So the fact that they were able to run that strong in a 200, less than 2 hours, less than 1.5 hours after running a 100 final, I think they're in good shape for Tokyo. So let me know what you think. Will any of these athletes, any of the athletes not named Melissa Jefferson Wooden or Julien Alfred, who do you think will get the medals in the 100 and the 200 from that next pool of athletes? Noah Lyles and Letsile Tebogo might be the most intriguing rivalry in track and field, because how is it even a rivalry? Them man have raced 12 times. 12 times. And Noah Lyles has won 11. Letsile Tebogo has won 1. So in any other sport, in any other context, this would not be considered a rivalry. But do you want to know why it's a rivalry? It's because that one win that Letsile Tebogo had meant more than all the 10-11 that he lost, that Noah Lyles won. Because that was the one win that Noah Lyles has been chasing from the start of his career. So let's actually take it back, okay? Noah Lyles has been, there's an argument to be made in each of the last 8 years that he has been, at some point, the best 200 meter runner in the world. From 2018, he was killing it. He was killing it. World leads, everything. There was no world championships. There was no Olympics. But he was clearly the best in the world. And then he proved that in the 2019 world championships, in which he won, as expected to, in the 200 meters. 2020 obviously was COVID. So we had the Olympics in 2021. And Noah Lyles was heavily favored to win the 200 meters at those Olympics. Just to put it into context, he didn't make the last Olympics, Rio 2016. He finished 4th, I believe, in qualifying at the America Trials, which was an incredible achievement for a high schooler, right? But since that race, the Rio 2016 Trials, up until the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, Noah Lyles had only lost one time in the 200 meters in all that time. So going into the final in Tokyo, he was expected to win. And obviously it was a weird year. It was COVID. There were no fans. People tested positive. There was all this stuff going on. But all that aside, Noah Lyles was expected to win, but he did not win. He did not even come second. He came third behind Andre De Grasse and Kenny Bednarek. And that pained him. That pained him because that's what he'd been working towards so much. The Olympics is what defines an athlete's legacy on the track. People, yes, they care about fast times. Yes, they even care about the world champs. But the Olympic gold is the one that actually transcends your name beyond athletics, okay? And he did not manage to do that at the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, and he was angry. He was angry, and he wanted to prove a point. He wanted to come and prove he is the fastest man in the world, whether that's 100 or 200. And he came back weeks later, August 21st, actually, to be exact. I don't remember that because I'm some genius when it comes to dates. It's just because it was my birthday. He came back to the Prefontaine Diamond League, or the Prefontaine Classic Eugene Diamond League, and ran 19.52. Faster than even the winning time at the Olympics that Andre De Grasse ran. Faster than anyone else had run. And won that Diamond League. Bit too late, few weeks too late, but it showed what he was on and what he was going to be on for the rest of his career, supposedly, when it came to the 200. He wasn't trying to lose again. But little did he know, the rival that was coming for him in the 200 meters was not from that final that we just had in Tokyo. It was not even the man who would run a 19.4 in high school in his country that was going to challenge him the following years in Arian Knighton. It was actually in a man who also ran that same day, August 21st, 2021. Letsile Tebogo completed a historic double. At the World Junior Championships, he won gold in the 100 meters, silver in the 200 meters. At just 18 years old, establishing himself as a future star of sprinting. And both athletes would find themselves at the World Championships in Eugene the following year, 2022. Remember, I told you Noah Lyles was angry at the fact that he didn't win at the Olympics? He showed it on the track. 19.31. 19.31 in the 200 meters. The third fastest man ever over 200 meters. Ridiculously quick time to win the 200 meter gold. His second world championship gold. And he ran an American record. Every record by anyone not named Usain Bolt or Johan Blake. Speaking of Johan Blake was running in the 100 that year. Letsile Tebogo was also running in the 100 that year. And Letsile Tebogo, at 19 years old, I believe at the time, managed to beat the second fastest man over 100 and 200. He managed to beat Johan Blake in the 100. Not just beat him, this was in the heats, not just beat him, but run a world junior record. Letsile Tebogo had arrived, okay? And he showed us that when he went viral soon after at the World Junior Championships again. This time running another World Junior record, I believe his third, a 9.91. But it's not about the fact that he ran the record. It was the way he ran the record. He stopped running at like 70 meters. Turning around, celebrating, wagging figures, all of this. And ran a World Junior record, 9.91. Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. I mean, I have one guy, but that was the fastest guy ever. So seeing this from a 19-year-old kid, you knew from then it was going to be long at some point for the rest of the world on a senior level. And he showed that the following year, 2023, he's now entering the senior circuit fully, running at diamond leagues and stuff. And he comes to London. He comes to Ends and challenges Noah Lyles over the 200 meters. An event that Noah Lyles doesn't lose. Okay, Noah Lyles doesn't lose the 200. He comes, runs a 19.50. 19.50, one of the fastest times ever in London. But he still loses because Noah Lyles, this is his bag. This is his event, okay? Noah Lyles runs a 19.47 to beat Letsile Tebogo at the London Diamond League ahead of the world champs, showing his form. He'd been showing his form in the 100 and the 200. 100 was a little bit shaky, but Noah Lyles was trying to double up now. He had already done the 200 thing. He ran one of the fastest times ever. He's won 2 world championships. For this World Championships 2023, he wanted to take it to another level, double up in the 100 and the 200, and he chose to do that. So did Letsile Tebogo. So both Noah Lyles and Letsile Tebogo were going to be running the 100 and the 200 at the World Championships in 2023 in Budapest. Okay, and they both did that, and they both were very successful. Letsile Tebogo, a bunch of national records, not just in times, but in medals and all of that, finished second in the 100 meters and third in the 200 meters. Behind Noah Lyles in both. Noah Lyles became the first man since Usain Bolt in 2015 to do the 100 meters, 200 meters double. But Noah Lyles made his intentions clear heading into the Paris 2024 Olympics. He wanted to double up. He wanted to triple up. At one point, he might have said something about quadrupling up. I think he wanted to do the 4x4. But he just wanted to dominate. He wanted to face the star of those games. And the key to doing that was winning in the 100 and the 200. But he said, 100 is a challenge and this, that, and the other. But 200 is his baby, he likes to call it. 200 is the one that he values the most. So what then went on to happen? These athletes both had successful seasons and went on to feature in the 100 and the 200 final in Paris. The 100 final, Letsile Tebogo ran a national record, 9.86. But he even finished middle of the pack because this was, in terms of depth, not overall all time, but in terms of depth, this was like the fastest race ever. And Noah Lyles ran a 9.79 to become the Olympic champion in the 100 meters. But he was not satisfied. He still wanted that 200 meter gold that he'd missed out on. He again was the favorite. Once again, he hadn't lost a race in the 200 since the last one that he lost at the last Olympics. He was invincible. This means that over this period, this 7 or so year period, Noah Lyles had barely lost a race in 200. Maybe 1 or 2 races that he'd lost in 200 over 7 years, and yet did not have an Olympic gold to show for it, which was the one race that mattered. This is why getting this gold meant so much to him. But for other reasons, it meant so much for Tebogo, because Tebogo, there was a chance that he was not even going to run at those Olympics, okay? Months prior, he learned of the tragic news of the passing of his mother. And he had to take time away from running to be with his family and to just process everything mentally. Running, the Olympics, all of this was no longer a priority for him. But he made the decision to run in honor of his mother. He was very vocal and demonstrative about dedicating everything that occurred in this Olympics to his mother, the one who put him in the position to even be there in the first place. And he managed to complete what he set out to do in the Olympic final. He ran 19.46 seconds, the 5th fastest man ever in the 200 meters. African record. The first African man to win the 200 meter gold. The first Botswanan athlete in any event, any sport in Olympic history to win a gold medal. There was so much context behind Letsile Tebogo's 200 meter win at the Olympic Games. That meant it was one of the most beautiful, touching, incredible stories that we've ever seen, really, at the Olympics. Which, when we're talking about the Olympics, that's a big deal. But when you turned on the TV, you went onto social media, you went onto the news, whatever, you weren't even seeing him at the front. You were seeing Noah Lyles. They were talking more about Noah Lyles than they were talking about Letsile Tebogo, who just achieved this historic feat. Because Noah Lyles, it came out minutes after the race, had COVID. He'd been battling with COVID since the 100 meter final. And very quickly, the narrative shifted from, wow, what an achievement from Letsile Tebogo, to, if Noah Lyles had been healthy, if he had been fit, if he had not had COVID, he would be the Olympic 200 meter champion. Now, it's a precarious topic when we're talking about the subject of someone's health and its effect on performance, because we don't really know. We can only speculate. But the narrative that was running, which is that it was basically a foregone conclusion that Noah Lyles would have won that race if he didn't have COVID. And that the reason he finished third behind Kenny Bednarek and behind Letsile Tebogo, who, by the way, had time to slap his chest as he was running across the line. He could have ran low 19.4 maybe. So Noah Lyles has only ran faster than Letsile Tebogo did on that day one time, which was on the fastest track in the world at a home world championships in which he did not run any other rounds prior to the commencement of the 200 meters. So in other words, in the perfect conditions and perfect settings to do so. So the concept that he would have just beat Tebogo if he didn't have COVID, when he's already proven previously that despite being the fastest man in the world over 200 meters, he is not a shoo-in to win the Olympics, because that occurred in the last Olympics, it occurred in this Olympics. The following year, the current year, 2025, when he now came out and ran a world lead in the 200, he crowned himself. Now, Tebogo said in the interview that that crown was inspired by Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite, so I don't know what the crown significance is. But he said he leaves it open to interpretation for anyone to interpret it how they want. And I think it's pretty clear, without him giving the context in an interview, how everyone would have interpreted it, which was that he was the king. So Noah Lyles snatches that crown back by beating Tebogo over 200 meters. He then beats him later in a 100 meter race. And then we get to the Diamond League final, just weeks before the World Championships, in which Noah Lyles and Letsile Tebogo go head to head for the Diamond League trophy. And I gotta be honest, guys, this was the most compelling race of the meet. Actually, this and the other 200 meter race. This was the best Letsile Tebogo has looked all season. It's not been his best season, okay? He struggled a bit over the 100 meters, been a bit inconsistent over the 200 meters. But in this race, the Diamond League final, Letsile Tebogo showed up. He got a good start and he maintained his speed throughout. And Noah Lyles, we know he's going to build up. We know he's not going to come flying out the blocks. But the assumption is that when it gets to the straight, he's going to just turn on the jets and just overtake whoever's in front of him. And that's what looked like it was going to happen, because he was approaching Tebogo, but Tebogo was holding him off. He was holding him off for a while, and he showed his strength. It was a battle for a while. Noah Lyles at the end, at the very end, pipped him at the line, ran a 19.74. Tebogo ran a 19.76, equal season best. And Noah Lyles won a record 6th Diamond League title by beating Tebogo in those 200 meters. And that is where we're at heading into the 2025 World Championships, in which, as I highlighted at the beginning, Noah Lyles' record against Tebogo is insane. 11-1 is insane. But that one, the value of that one, and the controversy of how that one was covered, put so much weight on what is about to happen in Tokyo. Because if Noah Lyles retains his world title in the 200 meters, in the eyes of the public, that narrative of Tebogo only won because Noah Lyles had COVID is going to be solidified. Whether I like it or not, I'm just one person. So if that's the narrative that everyone's going to run with, Noah Lyles beating Tebogo at these world championships will solidify that narrative. But if Letsile Tebogo manages to win, despite all the adversity he faced off the track last season, despite all the adversity that he's faced on the track this season, what more can you say? What more can you say to deny his greatness? Mind you, those are not the only two guys that are going to be on the line and come Tokyo. We're going to have Brian Lavelle. We're going to have Kenny Bednarek. Two guys that have shown that they can run very fast. So who have you got? Who do you think will win the 200 meters at these World Championships? Documentaries, predictions, everything that you need in the lead up to the World Championships will be occurring right here on Oko TV, thanks to you who has helped us get to 6,000 subscribers. I am so thankful and grateful to all of you. Despite creating content for years, it was 7 weeks ago that I made the decision to dedicate myself to posting regularly on YouTube, and that is how we've got where we are today. Anyone who's watched, liked, commented, subscribed, agreed, disagreed, given their opinions in the comments, you have helped us get to this stage where we are now building a community which I really enjoy engaging with and I really enjoy creating content for. So thank you so much to everyone who's supported. So if you want that to continue and this is your first time here, please do subscribe so that you can join the journey yourself. My name's Okosieme. Thanks for watching Oko TV. It's been real.